Raspberry Pi. This one is interesting too. You may have heard, some of you have. $35 computer on that little card. Has SD card, USB, Ethernet, HDMI. Wow, you can basically hook it up to your high definition TV. So yeah, this is interesting. It's a couple of years old, and of course the price is what draws a lot of people. Say, wow, I can boot Linux and run it on the little computer this big, and I can hook it up to my big TV. Great, it's all. And so now, so this microcontroller is really, it's a system on a chip. So Broadcom is a company that makes a lot of these network wired or mostly wireless, I'd say. But a lot of broadband, let me say, broadband chips. They're based in Southern California, startup out of UCLA. And what they do is they put the ARM core and then a bunch of other things, including video, including USB, including floating point, everything. And GPU, graphics processing unit, on there. And then the memory is stacked on there. Okay, so it looks like one chip, but really it's a stack of things. And so this one has these, in addition to these higher end like Ethernet and HDMI, RCA, video, audio. It also has GPIO and a few other things. And so the way it works is it has to boot from the SD card. So it will do boot loading. So SD card is its disk. So you have to have the Linux or sometimes even Android image on there. And then it boots from there. So it copies stuff into the RAM to run. And so yeah, so people have been doing interesting projects with this. But to me, this is more of a general purpose programming style. And by that time, you don't see anything underneath. It's all pretty higher level. And to actually get to a GPIO pin, that's a lot of trouble because to get around Linux, unless you run as super user, otherwise you can't execute those privileged instructions. So you end up having to open a port just to set a bit to 0 or 1. And that's not a... there's so many layers in between that you don't get that direct interaction. So yeah, but this is certainly something that somebody who has programmed Linux box or with knowledge from this course can handle. Something like this. It's pretty interesting. Okay. One thing you might want to know about this is, Linux supports virtual memory. Right? By virtual memory, that means if RAM is not enough, what does it do? Swap to disk, right? And when it's doing swapping, basically it writes the memory content to SD card and then frees up the memory, and then so you can put something else on there. But swapping is bad news for SD cards, right? You know why? Remember from last time? Because Flash has limited number of rewrite cycles, and swap space is always there. It's the same space. So you keep swapping, and then how many times can you swap a day? Quite a few times. And so after a couple of weeks, it could easily exceed the lifetime of Flash. And so you can kill a little SD card within a matter of a couple of weeks, easily. Okay, so if you want to run this, first thing you should do is disable swap, disable swapping, or else it's going to keep overriding the same parts, and that's going to kill your SD card very quickly. And I know this because it's happened in my lab. Okay, now EcoBT. So this is, of course, you've seen this a couple times already, mentioned a couple times. This is developed at our lab, EPL, and this is different from all the other ones in that it's a wireless sensor node. Okay, first is wireless. Let me see. So previous one, this one is wired, no wireless on there. This one also wired. Arduino, you can put a wireless card on there, but the board itself doesn't have any wireless. But there's something called RFduino, which came out I think end of last year on Kickstarter.com. That has a similar chip to us, but it is wireless, but not a sensor node. This one is a sensor node in that it has onboard sensors. So it has accelerometer. I think some version has a light sensor too, and then magnetic sensor. So pretty powerful. And in addition, we're one of the few boards that give you real-time clock. Okay, what's real-time clock? So it's think of it as your digital clock calendar chip. So it tells you not only what time it is, but also has a way to set an alarm, just like an alarm clock. And that's what digital clocks use. They put you could use a microcontroller, but many just use an RTC. So it knows what day of the week, what month, what year, what century. This one does. So what many embedded systems do is they give you like a backup battery. So even if you power it off, that little coin cell battery keeps the RTC running. That it runs on a separate power supply, so it always knows what time it is. So this is a powerful combination, and of course we also made one of the world's smallest, probably if not the smallest wireless sensor node, 8 by 8 millimeters. And so that's what EcoBT is, and we'll give you probably a combination. We're still figuring out the details. So this one supports USB, so you can plug it in like I did last time, or did a couple times before. So it could talk to a computer over USB, and that's for programming and as a base station in case the computer doesn't have built-in Bluetooth Low Energy. And there's another one using a slightly different chip, the CC2541. That doesn't have USB, but it's okay as just a wireless node. So you could do sensing, you could transmit, do all sorts of things. And that's also a lower power. Okay, so summary of these different platforms. So I covered a wide range from a lot of the 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, dual 32-bit, and there are many, many more. I'm just showing you the kind of variety of technology people use for building embedded systems. Okay, so it's impossible to let you try all of these, but what you're gonna learn from this course really are the core concepts. Once you know the core concepts, then moving to one of these will be easy. Okay, so that's why we're doing it this way. And so and also maybe you want to keep in mind USB, right? So, and we'll cover this later. In that USB is not all the same. Some microcontroller says they handle USB, but you have to know if it's USB master or USB slave. There's a difference. Many microcontrollers handle USB slave, but not master. Some can do master or slave. Others may be master only. So you have to be careful. So that's really the list of platforms.